Hey everybody, Randy with Academia Christi here. Happy Easter. This is episode 6 of the Viri Christi garden vlog. This is the week of April the 13th. The footage is from the 13th. My commentary is from a little bit later. And sorry for the wait. Hopefully I'll be able to get the vlogs out a little closer to Thursday. But anyway, hope you enjoy. Alright, we will start off again with the new bedroom shelf with the 2 mint transplants, the cuttings, and the little basil that was also sort of a transplant. These 2 mint, 2 of the best cutting transplants I've probably had so far, directly into the soil, and they seem to have rooted really well. The basil too, actually. Here are nice cucumber and the 2 dill, the last of the tricumbers, if you remember that. These 2 dill used to be in the small pot of dill that we'll see later on, and as you can see from it, it's just massive at this point. It's really loving being in this pot. I'm starting to harvest it, probably a nice shoot a week at least. This cucumber has its second female flower that I've seen so far. I've let it go as well. Still not too sure if it's going to be pollinated or if this one was. I don't think this one got pollinated. The big one, small one, hopefully will open soon. Now into the garage for the garage plants. Here, the random grape thing within the grapes. I don't think it's, I'm starting to think it has nothing to do with grapes. Also, these grapes really aren't growing either. The lemongrass that was in the longer planter that was then planted in this small one because it all kind of died off is now fully dead, I believe. This arugula, however, I transplanted as best I could, thinned out, and then replanted the ones that I thinned out in the corners into the sides. These 2 in the narrow sides, they don't really seem to have taken very well, but the ones in the corners that didn't get transplanted seem like they're doing great. And even the 2 in the longer sides that got transplanted don't seem like they're doing too bad. Here's the one that was by itself the whole time, most of the time at least, the longest, and it just looks amazing. So I'm hoping that all the ones in the corner will look like that eventually. And then that bib lettuce that we had growing inside is now transplanted into the middle of this thing. And I think it's going pretty well. Still holding it out off of the dirt there, but it's actually holding itself up at this point. Here's that one aloe that I said was sitting on the bench for a while. It was actually just a random dead piece, we thought, I guess. But then I stuck it in the dirt, and I'm pretty sure it has some new growth. I also cut off one of the pieces near the bottom that started to die off. Give it a little room to breathe. And here, of course, are 2 big pots of and here we have the best pot probably, has the least amount, but some of the biggest shoots of aloe. Each one of these is its own plant, really, and I hope to transplant some of these out eventually. Here in our outdoor gardening, finally getting outside, got our rhubarb that I've shown before, and now I have, you probably can't tell, but there are 2 rings around it, and there is old-fashioned mustard in the inner ring, and there's green wave mustard in the outer. And here is where I'm going to be making the first veggie patch. That'll be for all our personal stuff like radishes and onions and carrots and things that I'm not planting multiple of for market sale or anything. Here are porch plants, things that we had growing inside that I've now moved out. Here are 2 different basils. One of them, I believe it's not this one, but the other one, started to kind of have some problems out here. I think maybe it got a little too hot, a little too dry, wasn't used to it. Here we have the dill and parsley hydro transplants. One of them, you can see that the parsley, one of these shoots, had the same kind of problem. They were both out here, maybe a little too long right off the bat, and it seems like I damaged it. These 2 other parsleys looking quite well, especially the one that only has 2 in it. That one there has 4. Here is the cilantro that's been in this little pot. There's the dill. I mentioned that the dill that it was in the cucumbers actually started in that pot. You can see how much bigger it is. And the lemon balm finally. Here's some thyme, the one piece of thyme that's actually growing. And finally some more parsley. Can't get enough parsley. The last two parsleys, the 4 in the one container and the 2 in the other, actually came from that one as well. Transplanted into those pretty nicely. And over here are wild strawberries, growing decently, I guess. Our indoor spearmint, which, I guess is doing okay now that it's outside. It's been outside most of the time now. I'm kind of leaving it out there, especially this big garage spearmint. That one's outside all the time. I think it's really liking it. Growing beautifully. You can see it's probably not much different from last week here, but I don't know. I feel like it's looking pretty nice ever since I brought it outside. It's also nice to make some room inside again. Get some of this stuff out here in their natural atmospheres, I guess. Here's all this just random stuff that isn't going well. I'm going to probably just toss it all. Get to use those containers over. Here's all the parsley transplants from the seed starting units. Again, parsley just seems to grow fantastically. It can't have anything to do with me because I don't know what I'm doing. Has to be the parsley. Looking lovely, hoping to give some of this out. And of course, here's the other 2 thyme that I have that pretty much failed. I'm pretty sure they did a while ago. And now, into the indoors. A little less to look at in here since some of it's moved out. Here's one of our very old peppers. This is the cayenne that hasn't been doing as well as the others. I don't know what happened. They all kind of started wilting. That one was the only one that really had big issues. Here's the top of my marjoram hydro transplant. Rooting in water, it's actually rooting quite well. It's probably ready to be transplanted. That pecan didn't grow. I got that strawberry seed kit from Dollar General. I just wanted to see if it would work. It actually did already sprout in less than 2 weeks, amazingly. Genovese basil cutting, that actually came from the hydro transplant as well, but cut it out, rooted it in water, and it is doing fantastic. Our Margalope tomato, the first tomato we started growing, I think looking nice. I'm not positive on what it's supposed to look like. Here are the other 2 very old peppers, but they're looking at least better than that other cayenne. They're at least like alive, even though they're very tiny. Here we have our hydroponic transplant of rosemary. I transplanted that early because it wasn't looking that great, but it's actually growing. One of 2 habaneros, the only one that started growing. The other one didn't. I just randomly planted those a while back in those red cups, red tape covered cups. 2 cayenne cuttings that I rooted in water and now are planted, and I think they're working out. So I started rooting all these pepper cuttings, and yeah, they're in water and they're rooting pretty well. Hoping that they'll actually take root now in the soil. Haven't really been in there very long. Now we're looking, of course, at the Black Hungarian and the Aleppo chili, 2 of the 2 I started in the yogurt containers, like that pecan that didn't grow, but those 2 looking amazing, especially that Hungarian Black. Probably the prettiest pepper I have so far. Here are bonsai chili experiment, or the bonchi. On the right are Ring of Fire cayenne peppers that didn't grow, only the one there that actually looks pretty good. And then here on the left are fish peppers that I'm super excited about because they are looking kind of cool too. That mottled look is normal for them. And I think it'll get more and more detailed as the leaves get bigger. I actually noticed as the leaves themselves grow, the mottled look appears on them. And it'll actually, I think, also be on the peppers themselves. So they'll look pretty cool. And over here, of course, our good old chives, the garlic chives over here on the right, I think, some of the oldest plants I have right now at the moment. Here, this random rosemary that I had come up and found it. Eventually found out it was rosemary when it was big enough to smell. And our 2 basils that were hydro transplants, not exactly sure which one is which. There's an Italian large leaf and a Genovese. You could probably tell. I think they're looking okay. they stopped getting so stringy. They were doing that for maybe a month or so. Now they're kind of okay. That beautiful marjoram transplant, again, cut the top off of that because it was getting so nice and bushy, and then it had a big top on it. And speaking of marjoram, here's some more transplants from the seed tray, not hydroponically, of course. But some of these, they obviously don't look anything near the other one we just saw, but some of them aren't too bad. And 4 sage transplants we also have from the seed starting trays. Much nicer looking than the very first sage that I tried growing. And there's our beautiful russet potatoes growing in a giant, 15 or 20 gallon container. I believe it's at least 15. They're looking pretty good as far as I know. Our Anaheim chili, one of the second batch of our hydroponically grown peppers, hydroponically grown and then transplanted peppers. And the others, these 2 poblanos here. Nice, bushy, stocky. I'm loving the growth. It's hard to tell if there's been a whole lot of growth since transplanting. Usually, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a little bit for them to start back up again, reestablish their root system in the soil, and then finally get growing again. But they both look good. They've been, as well as the Anaheim chili, I've actually been outside a few times. I've been hardening them off because I think I will be putting these outdoors whenever it's time. There's that other habanero in the red taped cup, didn't grow. And if you remember, the tray of 6 peppers is actually doubled up, so 12 peppers of the jalapenos, yellow Hungarians, and the serranos. Just that serrano is alive. Zombie plants here, mostly dying, and before that were those mint fails, more mint transplants. I'm thinking about trying it a different way in the future. And some of these zombie plants I've moved to different spots to see if they'll keep going. I've seen some new growth on 2 of them at least, so they're still going. I even have them outside, seeing if maybe that'll help out now that it's warm. Here's all those pepper cuttings I was talking about. These are all coming from that pepper brand experiment, since I've been growing 2 at a time, but then only taking the best. And I didn't want to waste them. I mean, they're a decent amount that were growing, and basically all of them are taking root. You can see that one actually has some roots pretty clear. And our only hydroponics pepper or hydroponics thing growing right now is this Hungarian yellow hot wax, not the banana pepper, but the hot one. And once that comes out, though, I'm going to fill this thing with a different type of tomato in each thing, and it's going to be wonderful. Getting into the tomatoes. Now getting into the seed starting, we have these 3 different types of lettuce here. We got Fib, Prize Head, and Paris Island Cos, all coming up, I think pretty well. They look stringy. I have them sort of close to the light now that it looks like the majority of them have sprouted. Here's the old spinach from over a month ago. I didn't even realize it's been that long. Still not sprouted, probably failed. Probably just gonna have to throw that out. Got some marigolds started now. Those will be going basically at the ends of all my patches because of their I guess, repellent properties. Pretty easy to grow. Here are some peanuts that I decided to pop in this thing, and I was very surprised by the result. It didn't take very long for those things to start up, and they are massive now. Here's our 3 different types of basil. We have Thai at the back, in the middle is the Italian, and in the front is the Genovese. All of that coming up nicely. Can't get enough basil. Can never have enough basil. Got our California Wonder Bell peppers now all transplanted out of the seed starting thing in their separate cups. Most of them looking pretty nice. I think there's 8 there, and then a 9th one up here that just started sprouting. But I figured, whatever, I'll throw it in. I have enough. If it lives, it lives. If not, it doesn't. All my dead celery, dying celery, it looked even worse after a couple days. I probably didn't keep it watered is probably the issue. I realize now that's a big thing with celery. 2 rosemary is all we got out of that seed that seed tray, but that's not bad. I guess we have a couple more pieces of rosemary. The yellow onions here also kind of looking like they're slowly dying off, so gonna give them some water too. Only have those 3 spike lavender coming up. The Munstead and the Vera did not start. Some all my tomatoes, 6 different kinds, and of course the pepper brand experiment. Those tomatoes coming up pretty well too for this. These are the first of the pepper brand experiment. Of course, that's jalapenos, cayennes, and habaneros of 4 different brands, all just Amazon brands. Looking pretty good. I'm pretty sure they're all in the same order they're supposed to be, from Nature's Edge, Sustainable Sprout, Serenaseed, and then Rebel Gardens. This one, these all the ones surrounding the hydroponics here are from March the 9th, the second batch. These aren't in any order, I'm pretty sure. I just kind of threw them in there as I went. Don't worry if you don't think this looks safe, it totally is. But these peppers looking pretty good too. Happy with that. However, got a little bit of wilting going on. I think I've neglected this final batch a little too long. Definitely need to transplant the jalapenos, probably the cayennes as well. Finally though, we have our very first hydroponically transplanted peppers. We have 3 cayenne here in our right side pot. That one and this one as well, the small one and this medium-sized one, cut back drastically. Not doing amazing. Honestly, none of them looking great. None of these peppers looking great. You just see pieces falling off. I think that I just under-fertilized is all. I think it just needed some more fertilizer. I didn't want to go too crazy with the fertilizer, but apparently I didn't put enough in. It's been actually over a month since I put in the last dose. Here, the cayenne that's actually growing well, bearing fruit even. In this, the oldest of the peppers that was growing actually started ripening. So that's cool. It's at least still working. If nothing else, it's still growing. Still producing its peppers, finishing them off. I did actually give it all of the peppers, another shot of fertilizer, see if I can get them going again. Because I think the yellowing leaves at first, I thought it was normal. At the very, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't too often that they were losing leaves. But then as they started getting yellower and yellower and losing more and more leaves, and then all the flowers were falling off and none of them were pollinating. And you can see here the jalapeno, only those 2 jalapenos and then one other small one have grown on those 2. And then the one in the middle here looks better, but even it had a lot more fruit set before and many more flowers that I thought were going to be pollinated, but they all came off. Got a couple little ones like that, but 5 decent sized jalapenos. Thought it would have had more. Still nice green leaves toward the top, but a lot of yellowing at the bottom. So I thought, these look like they should have a lot more leaves than this. I've seen peppers that are very bushy. These aren't bushy enough. So I guess we'll see by next week probably if there's any difference from the fertilizer. But anyway, yeah, that is it. Hope to see you then next week. A lot of changes coming between now and then. But yeah, please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.